Anthony Joshua beats Jermaine Franklin on points, but is this the end of the elite for Joshua? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Stay Weighed In podcast. My name's Abbas, and I'm joined by my co-host Ray. How you doing?
Listen, man, it went from AJ. Well, I went on a night out, and then I came back to WrestleMania. So sleep's been taking a bit of a battering, but it went Hollywood, so I had to tune in this year. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm like you. It had to go Hollywood, and it delivered. But maybe somebody who didn't deliver, and we're gonna go into it now. That segue. Come on, I appreciate. I'm gonna give myself.
That was a good segue. Keep it going.
It's Anthony Joshua who beat Jermaine Franklin on points. It looked quite lackluster. It didn't look like what we all expected. So give me your thoughts on this. What did you make of the fight itself?
The first thing I said straight away, I said, boys, AJ's always been my guy. Always been my guy. Always backed him. You already know that. Listen, man, I did not like what I saw, man. At all. At all. And it's not even, do you know what it is? It's a case of like, it'll be different if he dominated with fundamentals. I thought his Ruiz performance was more impressive than this, in all honesty. This one, it just looked like his body's been through the ringer. And listen, people need to appreciate this is not an easy sport in the slightest. It is so hard what a lot of these top boxers put their body through, etc., etc. It just looked like, I couldn't tell whether it was a mental thing or it was a physical thing. It looked like the body was sluggish, but not in a way that you haven't trained, but just in a way, it's just wear and tear on the body. Your body can only do so much. And I can't tell whether it's a case of wear and tear on his body starting to catch up. Mentally, it's almost like he's got the mentality that he needs. Like he's got that hunger still. But in the ring, it doesn't always translate. And it's almost like you hesitate and such. But off a loss, it happens. But it just wasn't the best assurance from AJ. And for me, I think he still needs one more fight before he thinks to go to the elite.
I was going to say, though, did we kind of underestimate Franklin a bit? Or not necessarily underestimate, but disrespect him to the point where a lot of people just assumed that this was going to be another fight for AJ where he turns up, does his thing, then moves on to the next thing instead of going through the full 12-round motion.
There's no disrespect to Franklin because I think Franklin's a fantastic competitor, but if you want to be the best, you have to go in there and put in a convincing performance against people that's not in the top 5. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's less about disrespect to Franklin and it's more about if you want to claim to be that top guy in the division, like we've seen him be, you have to go in there and just blow away the opponent. So it's not even a case of pause. It's not even a case of like, you have to go in there for the knockout. But even the decision in itself, it wasn't like an overall outclassing. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So because of that, I can understand why some people have an uneasy feeling watching that fight because it was just a case of it just wasn't a convincing performance, to be honest. And I love AJ. I'm still team AJ. On God and them, I'm still team AJ. But yeah, the performance was just a bit weird. His behavior after the fight, I don't know what's up with him, but he needs to really get that checked out because the whole thing of when they hugged after and then he was holding on to him in a like weird position. It was like he was trying to little brother him, and I was just like, it was unnecessary. I get it. It's almost like he needs that nasty streak in him to push him to the top and get him competitive. But you got to also know when to switch it off. And I just felt like it wasn't a good look. And at first, I was upset that Franklin's team started getting rowdy at AJ. But then when you looked at the replay, I'm just like, no, it makes sense. Like, why are you grabbing him like that at the end? Even if it was meant to be banter, it went on for too long. And yeah, I'm not trying to see that behavior from AJ, man.
Is it a thing that AJ struggles with pressure a little bit more now? It's a different level of pressure. Before, it was a case of, okay, you're going into these fights and you will win, but it doesn't matter how you kind of win. Then you've got the back-to-back losses. You come back in this particular fight having the time off with this DAZN contract. a new platform, and there's an expectation that we're going to see you go back to your best. And the fact that you didn't deliver, then you had the previous outburst in the Usyk fight. Then you have what it is now. Is it just mounting up too much for AJ, where unfortunately he's not been able to deliver to what the public's expectation is?
F the public expectation. I'm glad he said to F them as well in the post-fight press conference, because it is F them. But my main thing is I want him to be mentally where he needs to be. And if he thinks he is there, then fair enough. For a lot of people that are supporting him, sometimes his actions or words contradict, and it makes it seem like he's not all up there. But yeah, focus on what you need to focus on. I think he's got less pressure, but I think the most pressure that he's getting right now is on himself. I don't even think it's like from the public. I think it's on himself. So right now he needs to go back to the drawing board. I think apparently he's going to go straight back to Texas to train with Derek James. I can't read Derek James' expressions too much, but it seemed like he was a bit unhappy with how AJ conducted himself as well. Like Derek James had, I might be reading into this too much, but Derek James had a look on his face kind of just like, yo, what is this nonsense that you're doing right now? Whether it's like some of the comments at a post-fight press conference or some of the antics in the ring, he didn't look too happy with AJ. So, yeah, I think like he had to speak to him a few times just to be like, yo, like calm down, like what is this theatrics? And yeah, I don't make AJ Dillon right already, man.
So it's funny you said that because for me, I think AJ does bring it a bit on himself, because I think right now we're in a position where you just enjoy his fights, and it's just going through the motion of his career ending. And if he gets to a stage where he can fight for the world title again, great. If not, it's a case of just prolonging it and just going through the motion for me. But him calling out Tyson Fury and stuff, is he just adding a bit too much to himself by bringing out a name like that? Because it seems like he's put to one side, but it's AJ now that's bringing him up.
No, I don't think so, because he's a competitor, so he's always going to do that. And I think that's the right thing to do. That's the right mentality to have. It's just a matter of physically, are you going to be where you need to be to have that fight? Because to me, honestly, you're meant to do that. I'm glad he said he did call out Fury, but after that performance, it's kind of just like, boy, the odds are going to be in Fury's favor, and Fury might now finally not duck a fight like he ducked Usyk.
Do you think AJ came in a bit too heavy? But because I think it was the heaviest he's ever been in. But one thing I would say is he didn't look tired in this fight. It looked a bit sluggish, but I don't think he looked as tired, if that makes sense.
I don't know about the weight. It depends, because he might have gone through his coach and said, do you know what? He might have done an extensive bulking program in America, and that's the reason why he done it. But for me, maybe it's better for him to lean out, because I know obviously the Usyk's fight, he came in the first one quite lean, then he came in the second one a bit more weight. So maybe he went to America and said, you know what, F it, I'm just going to go out there and be that big heavyweight that I am and just put on bulk up more. So, but it's a bit weird, like it's a bit late in your career to start experimenting where your optimum weight is. You should know that by now, but he's the one that works with professionals. He's the one that's got a coach. So, you know, you can only hope that whatever they're doing out there, they're getting it sorted and they'll get it right.
I'm going to ask you this then, and it's interesting you said that. Is there a bit of an identity crisis right now with AJ? Is that the best way to summarize where he's in right now? That there's a bit of an identity crisis in his career?
I think it's less about identity crisis. I think it's more gun shy. A lot of people might be like, it's not that he doesn't know who he is. It's just that, are you scared to pull the trigger because of the counters? But it's heavyweight. I think all this stuff sometimes about, the whole he hasn't got a good chin, I think it's hyperbole, because in the heavyweight division, if most people touch you, you're going down. And I think that's what happens, is that AJ he's the one that's in there feeling the power. It's like when people are just like, oh, I don't understand why you don't just go and punch Usyk. Where, well, when you've got someone that's such a good counter puncher,
you don't need the full force of a punch to drop you down. They can use your own momentum against you. Then bam, next thing you know, you're on the floor. So it's like, it's more of he just needs to embrace being himself. I don't think it's as much of an identity crisis, but more just like go in there and don't be gun shy. Because earlier on in his career, especially like we always talk about the Klitschko fight, he went in there gunslinging, but a lot of people even think that's where it changed for him because he realized, right, you can't keep on going into those type of fights like that, or you're not gonna have a long career. Side note, this is why I give Mayweather so much credit, because when Mayweather was past it, he did not go in there. Whether people want to deny this or not, he didn't go in there with the top welterweights. He didn't. Or the up-and-coming ones anyway. All like Errol Spence, the Keith Thurman, the Terence Crawford at the time, even like friend Sean Porter, when they were on the way up, Mayweather never faced them. He faced the people of his generation that had a big name. And when people were just like, oh, Mayweather, you know, he only faced people that are all past it. And I said, Mayweather was past it as well. It's just that his skill level is so high that his past it looks like a lot of people's primes. Because if you actually saw Floyd when he was pretty boy and he was going in there at lightweight and demolishing people, like the Arturo Gay fight was just like masterful. He doesn't fight like that no more because his body can't hack that no more. And I think AJ might be in that space where you're not in your physical prime no more. And for me, I'd rather you just go out there and have fun fights rather than you've been a unified champion. I said this to some of my friends yesterday that asked me about AJ. I said, very few times in life do you get your moment. Do people get their moment in the spotlight and maximize it? That man, when he was on top, maximized his moment to the fullest. He became a unified world champion twice when he was at his peak. He's got so much money, set so much records, brought back big time British boxing on a regular basis, helped a lot of so many people after him, and has invested in the sport so much. So you got to give him credit for what he done whilst he was at the top. But now I do feel like he's in the twilight, and I'd rather him just have fun fights rather than going for the belt, because as long as Usyk gets the belts, he's not getting them back. And before, I would have said that I would have fancied him against Joe Joyce, but in all honesty, I don't want to see that fight for him. Unless Joe Joyce gets a world title and AJ then goes after that, then fair enough. But I don't want to see AJ fight the likes of Joe Joyce and the other upcoming heavyweights. I'd rather him fight off, if he's going to fight the people in your generation, whether it be Wilder, whether it be Fury, definitely Dillian White next. And then from then on, I don't know, the other side of the bracket with like the Furies and that. When that duck starts to fight Usyk, then I'll speak on him. But if that duck doesn't fight Usyk and then doesn't fight Joe Joyce either, then but let's not speak about him. But yeah, that's me on AJ, man.
One last thing then I'll talk about, and you talked about the money with AJ and how much he's made, but I want to talk about the investment DAZN made in AJ, because when that contract money came out, it was huge and it was big talked about. Is there a bit of a worry that the amount that they invested, the return won't be as profitable? Because they've changed the full model. They put the model at £20, which is basically pay-per-view. Conveniently, I believe it came in just as AJ's fight was looming, etc., maybe a month out earlier to test it. Is there a worry that them subscriptions for AJ will not be there like they probably assumed they would have been?
Yeah, probably. But then I also think that's also why DAZN also changed their strategy, where, like you said, now they're on Sky now, they're doing different deals, they've upped the price, because I think just to cover the cost of things, I think they've realized that you can't, especially with boxing. Boxing is such a weird sport because at its peak, it can have so much money in it, but on a normal one, it doesn't have that much money in it. Honestly, it just doesn't. And I feel like the DAZN app has good intentions, but in regards to like having an app where the main product is boxing in itself isn't big enough. There's stars that generate big money, but like the sport in itself, I don't think generates enough money for the app to have as many users as they would like. So I'd understand why they've changed the model, and obviously it's like you got Canelo there, but I think he's on a fight-by-fight basis, and I don't think it was the wrong thing for Matchroom to go there, but they definitely have to make adjustments on the zone, and the zone themselves need to make adjustments to the market because, especially in the UK, we're not because he lives right now, man. Like, you can't be doing bare pay-per-views like that.
This is the thing. I said it yesterday. I go that this month's DAZN's probably worth it because you get Joshua and you get the Tank and Garcia fight. But then, unless you're really into your boxing like that, unless you're putting me 1-star fight at the very least, it's very hard for someone to be like, okay, I want to do a continuous $9.99 subscription, or I want to pay 20 quid for this particular month. And the other interesting thing for DAZN will be, how do they price this MISFITS stuff now? Because when KSI fights, are you putting him on the pay-per-view side of things?
No, you have to, but that's not. It's influencer boxing. It's not that. This is what I find weird. Yeah, the same people that complain that it's not real boxing will then complain about it's on pay-per-view. Why do you care? Why do you care if you are someone that's genuinely into boxing and not into influencer boxing? Because for me, the zone is a win-win for the zone because they're gonna have a good month of like boxing this month. So you're gonna have a lot of people that might spend the £20 for the month. That's a win. Then you've got the other crowd that are into MISFITS. MISFITS, a lot of people that watch MISFITS boxing, they do not care about general boxing. They're here for MISFITS. So guess what? Keep that as pay-per-view because they will pay for that product and happily and won't have an issue. It's a win-win. Everybody wins. I don't think unless the only people that might feel away is if you're into general boxing and you like MISFIT boxing, then yeah, you might be like, right, why am I paying for you? But like, there's more. I think the zone probably just understood like the markets don't cross as much as they would like, so you might as well keep them separate. And then if you have to pay both, if you like both markets, then you have to pay both. The game is the game. The price of the brick going up.
You're right. And with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode of the Stay Weighedin podcast. As always, if you enjoyed the content, you know what to do. Drop a like, share, subscribe. Get involved as well in the comments. Let us know what you think about AJ in 2023, where he stands when it comes to the heavyweight division currently, and where, again, like you said, what's his route for 2023? Is it Dillian Whyte and one more fight? Is it Dillian Whyte and just enjoy 2023? But as always, appreciate you, Ray, for jumping on as well. Love and peace, guys, and enjoy.